it's so easy to think that you're going to be good at something, like not quite right away, but like with little effort. And then when you're not, it can be really discouraging. And I'm one of those people that gets like frustrated really easy. So just do it. Just get out there and try it. Like, don't let people tell you that you shouldn't be doing it or that it's too dangerous or anything like that. Do some research, maybe talk to some friends, find some friends that ride and do it.
Off-grid nomad and dirt bike enthusiast, we have Zoey Anderson over here on the podcast today, and I am so excited because we chat all things about off-grid RV living to dirt bike riding, trails riding, camp hosts, her YouTube channel and new podcast, and so much more. So this is an episode you do not want to miss, and I'll catch you guys on the other side. Awesome. Okay, well, we're going to start. So hey, hi, and hello, Angelisa here, your host for Brat Babes Throttle Talk. And today I'm so excited to be talking to Zoey Anderson. So welcome, Zoey. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. So can you tell us a little bit about you and where you're coming from?
Yeah, so right now, my husband and I live in Northwest Oregon, and we live in our RV full time. I do dirt bike and I ride trials, and we also volunteer camp host for most of the year. That's something that we just recently started, so I know that we'll get back into that later. But yeah, right now we're actually not off grid. I'm in my mother-in-law's house, and I was going to record this in the trailer, but it's like pouring down rain and like the volume was so loud in there because it's aluminum. So I was like, I'll just go in the house instead.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. So it's raining there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's raining here today too. It's like, so how's the winter been before we get into all this stuff?
It hasn't been too bad. I mean, we had a kind of a freak ice storm for like a week. And after that, it's been super mild. It's been mostly in like the 40s and 50s and raining. But we've had a lot of really nice weather this winter. I know we have another, like, they're calling it, they're not saying it's a snowstorm, but they're saying it's winter-like conditions. Like, well, it is winter. So it's supposed to happen next week where we get some snow again, which I'm kind of excited for because I love the snow. But, kind of puts a damper on riding a little bit.
Totally. Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll get more into like winter living here. But first off, I want to know a little bit more about your off-grid living, your dirt bike adventures. So you live in a camper, I guess it's not full-time, correct?
So it's kind of hard. We have lived full-time in the camper for going on 3 years now. But as of last year, we moved from Texas to Oregon, and we are actually technically living in the camper just on my mother-in-law's property. Okay. But we kind of just utilize her house for whatever because she's got a full kitchen. Like, I don't have my propane hooked up right now. I'm only hooked up to water and electricity, so I don't really use it much other than like the sink and electricity. But we're off grid like 7 months out of the year, and then we're parked at her house for the other remaining months.
And with those remaining months, it would be like during the winter time, I guess?
I mean, it is right now. We'd prefer not to. We really want to find a way to be off grid full time, but it just hasn't panned out. We've always had like projects. Like this year, we wanted to be off grid after our camp host season ended, but we had a lot of issues with our bikes and then our trailer. We don't have issues with the trailer, but we had some projects that we need to get done, and it's really hard to do that when you're an hour outside of town. So it makes it a lot easier to be somewhere where we're close to auto parts stores and other hardware stores to get stuff and also have electricity, not having to run a generator all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, can you tell us, I guess, tell us about off-grid living, RV life, and some of the reasons behind it, why you made that jump.
Yeah, so like I said, we lived in Texas. So we're from Oregon originally, and then we moved to Texas right before COVID hit. And then after COVID hit, everybody was buying an RV, and we lived in an apartment, and we had this freak ice storm in San Antonio where we had no power for like 2 weeks and no water, and it really sucked. And we bought a generator, and we started to think, like, how do we become more self-sufficient? And that kind of made us look into like wanting just to have an RV just to travel, because we really love to travel. And so we bought a really tiny toy hauler. It's called an Intech Explorer. It's by a company called Intech. And we got the Explorer model, which is like I think it's got a 10-foot box. It's like this tiny little cargo trailer toy hauler. It's got like a pull-out kitchen. It's really cute. So we bought that, and we traveled with it for a little while, just on vacation. And then we decided that we wanted to move back to Oregon because there's more public land where we could like be off-grid, and we could kind of utilize that 14-day rule that is present in most of the United States, where you can be on public land for 14 days at a time within a 5-mile radius. And so, yeah, we moved back to Oregon, and I skipped ahead a little bit. We had this tiny trailer for a long time, and then when we decided that we wanted to actually live in an RV and save up money and be more self-sufficient, we bought the next version up. So we're in an Intech Discover, which is a 14-foot box trailer, and it's got like a kitchen and everything, but there's no bathroom. It's just a cargo trailer with like a sink and a refrigerator, basically. And so we lived in that in an RV park for a little while, set it up to live in full time, and then moved back to Oregon. And then we kind of decided to go off grid and just have come up with opportunities for like camp hosting and volunteering and doing all that stuff. And that's kind of how we got into it.
Okay, cool. And so with the 14-foot trailer, the one you just mentioned, is that what you still currently have now?
Yes, that is what we live in now.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. Okay, so, and you're currently in Oregon. Do you plan on staying in, like, I know you're from Oregon, but are you planning on staying there or doing some more traveling?
So our initial plan was to travel around and find all these riding areas, and we've kind of gone away from that a little bit. Mostly because we really enjoy volunteering, not only because it gives us like a steady spot to park our trailer, but also just to give back to the community that we, learn to ride on and participate in. So, and also all of our families in Oregon. So it makes it easier, but maybe one day we'll travel.
Yeah, we're going to get into more about camp hosting, but I love the idea that you just said, like, you're giving back to the community by doing this. And this, like, you did say volunteer. Is camp hosting like a volunteer? I'm not sure. Sorry for my ignorance, but I'm not sure how that works. Yeah.
Yeah, it really depends on the organization that you work with. So I don't know if I can share what organization that we volunteer with. I think what I'm going to say is going to kind of narrow it down to where we are, but because we're going to be doing it this year, I can't directly say where. But the organization that we work with is volunteer only. So they provide us with a generator, they provide us with water, all the firewood that we want, and a space, and basically anything that we need to be able to set up and take care of the campground that we're in. And we're specifically in an OHV campground. But there are organizations and like private companies that will pay you to camp host. But ours is one of those that's just volunteer only.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they're giving you all of those amenities, that's pretty good already, right? Like, exactly. Yeah. Oh, awesome. I love that. So let's go back to the camper that you're living in. Have you done any modifications or any renos to make it custom to you with your bikes and I guess your lifestyle living?
Oh yeah, it's a really long list of stuff that we've done. Oh gosh, so I think like the first thing we did was we put solar panels on it. So right now we have a total of 800 watts of solar, but we're going to be upgrading to 1,800 watts of solar in the next month. So that was the first thing we did. And then we also installed a diesel heater because the heater that we have in it that comes with it is just electric, and you can't run it off of the battery, you have to run it off of a generator or shore power. So we have the diesel heater because diesel's cheap and it's super efficient. And then that wasn't enough to keep moisture down. So now we have a wood stove in the trailer. So, and our particular trailer is meant to be used as like a hybrid trailer, you know, like the pop-up trailers, how they have the sides of like canvas tents. Mm-hmm. Or, so ours is like that, but we can't use the canvas because of it doesn't have really good insulation qualities. So it's hard to keep moisture out and it's hard to keep heat and cold in. So we've completely taken off the canvas and we just keep the sides closed up. So it super minimizes our space that we have inside the trailer. So right now we're kind of coming up with ideas to make some hard sides instead of the tent sides. And so, yeah, there's there's a huge list of modifications that we've done. It's hard to like talk about all of them, but I think the biggest one's definitely the wood stove and the solar. Gosh, and what else? Oh, the biggest one. So like I mentioned, we don't have a bathroom in our trailer. So what we have done is we took a 500-pound drawer slide and we put it under the sink. So we have a cassette toilet on a slide under the sink. And then on the front of the trailer, there's a truck box that's mounted like on its side, and that's our shower. And then our shower has like this recirculating water system. So it goes through like a series of filters and like this sanitizing filter. And so it makes the water filter over and over and over again in like 4 gallons. That way we can continually take showers whenever we're off grid instead of using up a bunch of water.
Oh, wow. Do you have, I know you have a YouTube channel, which again, we'll get into, but do you have like a video kind of going over all, like just so that we could see what your trailer looks like with all those modifications you've done?
Yeah, I have a couple trailer tour videos. I think I have one that I made, I want to say like 5 months ago. Okay. Maybe a little longer. And so that's going to be the most recent one. And then I plan on doing another one once we do all of our solar upgrades.
Yeah. Is that going to be soon?
Yes, it'll be soon. I think we have everything we need to build our new roof rack and everything on the trailer. So this should be in like the next month or 2.
Oh, wow. Awesome. I know with those types of projects, sometimes for the winter, this is how we are. Me and my husband, we're always like, oh, we'll get to it soon. And then all of a sudden spring's here and we're like, we got to get this already.
That's how we are because we're going back off grid at the end of March. So it's like we have to have this done before we go. And it's like, 100%. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So much time is just flying away.
I know. It catches up for sure. Okay. And then I'm curious, where do you put, because you have a dirt bike, you have a trials bike. Mm-hmm. And then your partner does he ride both, like a dirt bike, trials bike?
Yes, he has a dirt bike and a trials bike. So we've got 4 bikes.
So 4 bikes. So where do you put them when you're like hauling your stuff around?
So we used to have all of them in the trailer, but it's kind of a pain since we don't have a whole lot of space in our trailer. Right. So we would see, this is something that's also changing. This is one of the things that we're trying to figure out. So the last time we had to move, we put 2 bikes in the trailer and then we hauled a bike on the back of our other vehicle. So we have 2 vehicles. We have our tow truck and then we have our Toyota that we drive around. Yeah. And we just made a double dirt bike hauler. So what I think we'll do this next season, unless we get something better, because we're kind of planning on getting a cargo trailer, is just to put the 2 trials bikes on the double motorcycle carrier and then the 2 dirt bikes in the trailer. Right. But ideally, we really want like a cargo trailer to haul the bikes separate. It's just with as little space as we have, we found out it's not feasible to live in the same trailer and like we can't coexist with the bikes in the trailer.
Yeah. That's so we have a toy hauler. And it's not a very big camper. It's very tall. But yeah, that's how we haul like the kids' bikes, our bikes. So we have, 2 adult sized bikes and then 2 kids' bikes. But as soon as we get to a campground, we got to unload everything, then set up the camper.
Yeah.
So that's why I was really curious. Like, I know you're staying in these areas or campgrounds longer, but it's just that, yeah, like you said, you can't really coexist, live with the dirt bikes in the trailer unless you have like a separate room where the bikes can go in and live in.
Right.
Yeah, so I find that very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's been a little bit of a struggle. So that was our initial plan, was to just pull the bikes out and like chain them to the outside of the trailer. But last year we found out that over the course of 7 months from spring to fall, it really wore on the bikes being outside. I mean, we had bought one of those really big cheap tents, and we had the bikes in a tent, but like it made us really uncomfortable to leave our campsite for any length of time because we have all these, thousands of dollars of assets in a tent in the middle of the woods with no one around. Mm-hmm. And also just, it doesn't keep the weather or moisture out. So we're really hoping to get like a cargo trailer this year to be able to store the bikes in and also be able to carry them around. It's a little bit more complicated, but I think in the end it'll be worth it.
Yeah, I can understand how keeping your bikes in a tent, if you ever did leave, how that could be unsettling, leaving, like you said, thousands plus dollars in a tent, just kind of sitting there for anyone. And you do chain things up, but it's still, I don't know, people can still...
people are determined, and I mean, you can chain them up all you want, and someone's going to figure it out.
Totally. Yeah, I can see that. So is the goal then to, get a different camper trailer system?
Yeah, I mean, we really like our trailer. We've been going back and forth on upgrading to something. Like, we were thinking about getting a school bus and doing the school bus thing, and then towing a trailer with that, or towing our current trailer and using that as the toy hauler, cargo trailer, and then the school bus as a living quarters. But we're not quite there yet. I think we're going to try to go another year or two with our trailer and see if we can make it work, like I said, with the hard-sided tip-outs and maybe a cargo trailer. And kind of go from there. It's just, I don't know. We've put so much work into this trailer that it's kind of like giving it up to get into something else for a living space is really hard on the ego.
Yeah. 100%. Because it's one of those things, it's like trial and error. You have to live through it and figure it out. That's what I find with some of these campers is like, they look great. We were so happy with this toy hauler, and we still are, but then it made us realize, like, if we're arriving to a campsite, 12 at night, middle of the night, we have the kids, we have to unload everything, bring down the hydraulic bed or whatever it's called, the bunk bed, just get everything set up. Like, it's such a big process. So now we're like, oh, okay, we've done this a few times. Like, we're thinking of upgrading just so we can minimize, like, the setup time. Like, I mean, I feel like a princess when I say that, but it really does.
No, not at all. Like, that's kind of where we're at too. Like, it is truly a pain in the butt to have to like unload everything and then set up your living space. And then, like, especially when you said like getting there late at night, that happens to us all the time. It's like we have a camping trip planned in a couple weeks where we're going to go over to Eastern Oregon, and we have to leave late at night because Taylor gets off work. My husband gets off work late, and it's like, we're going to get there late at night. We're to set up, and it's like, oh, I'm dreading it. But it is what it is right now.
Yeah, for sure. And that's just it. It's like, I don't think much of it, but every time, Kenny, my husband, he's always like, oh, wouldn't it be nice just to roll up and go to bed? Like, yeah, that would be
so nice.
Yeah, totally. Our friends, actually, I don't know what kind of camper they have, but they have it's pretty big. And they have like their living quarters, and then the other room is where they made the toy hauler. So it's like a garage type of trailer where they just keep the bikes there. They just roll up. They have 2 kids as well. They use the table pull out, I think, for a bed for the kids, and then their master bedroom. But it just kind of works for right now. And then they just roll up. They don't think about unloading the bikes or anything like that. So anyways.
I mean, when we first started looking at RVs, we've never had the truck that could pull like a big fifth wheel that has the separate garage. And then the other reason for choosing like a really, really small toy hauler is just it's so much easier to get into like the really, really cool spots that are super scenic, because like you're not going to pull a 45-foot trailer up a mountain and then like try to like get it on this tiny logging landing. So that was kind of like where we went with the smaller trailers, like the ease of putting it places.
There is something to be said about that for sure. You're right. Like you can't get to some of these beautiful places with a large camper. Absolutely. So yeah, I could see how going with a smaller camper to get to these unique like places that not a lot of people know about, right? That's the beauty of those campers. Oh, that's so cool though. I love it. I love learning about all of this stuff. And my other question would be, and I know you talked a little bit about some challenges, but what is one of the biggest challenge you face while living in a camper?
It's kind of a challenge that's not talked about a lot, but moisture is a huge problem. And if you've spent any like amount of time in your own travel trailer, like you can notice like the condensation on everything. And like when you're living in it and you're in it a lot, especially in like the winter months where it's always rainy, always dreary, it starts to take a toll like on everything in the trailer if you're not keeping up on it. So that's one reason that we got the wood stove, was to help get rid of that moisture in there, because it was like literally ruining like our floors and ruining like everything in the trailer. And yeah, so that's one of the biggest obstacles. I think we've kind of got that sorted out now with the wood stove. And we also have like this tiny little dehumidifier. And I guess I want to say the shower, but also I don't want to say the shower, because I like how we have our shower set up, but also it's outside. And like now I sound like a diva, but like when we're when the campground is full, like if we're camp hosting, I have to like walk out with just a towel on to get in the shower, and then like kind of shimmy like the shower curtain around to make sure no one can see me. It's just like, that's just a little bit of a pain. And I have like one of these privacy tents that I'll put up. Like I won't put it all the way up, but I'll fold it so like it can like be straight across the front of the trailer, so it blocks a little bit. But I think that's like, it's a small annoyance, but it's annoying when there's people around and I can't take a shower without like almost exposing myself. So.
Right, for sure. Okay, so outdoor shower, do you do that also like in the winter? Is that like...
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my goodness. But you have hot water, so it's
we have a water heater and everything, and it gets really, really hot. So it's nice, but also like the 5-foot jaunt from the door of the trailer to the shower is like so cold when it's like 20 degrees out and snowing. So
oh my goodness, yeah. I would freeze to death just even those like first couple steps.
Right.
So like good on you. That is awesome. Yeah, as long as you have like the hot shower. And I mean, it must be kind of nice though if it's snowing and you're outside, and it is kind of nice. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like you have the cold, and what I'll do is I'll like get the shower going and get it nice and hot, and then I'll sit inside and wait, and then as soon as I know it's hot, I'll like just strip down and just run and get it real quick. But it is nice. It's like you get like super cold to like hot, and then like super cold again until you get back in the trailer, and that's
right. Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. Okay, and then I wanted to talk about what are some of the benefits of living off-grid in a camper?
I think, oh man, there's a lot of benefits. A lot of benefits to me that maybe other people wouldn't consider, but my biggest benefit is just being away from people. Like I'm not the most social person in the world. Like it's not that like I'm mean. I'm kind of like an anxious person. I've got like a little bit of like, I don't know. I don't want to say agoraphobia, but like I like being in like big crowds, like really like kind of overwhelms me. So like being away from people and just being like disconnected from the rest of the world is really nice to me for a while. I mean, it does get a little bit lonely after some time, but that, and then we do have Starlink, so we have internet most of the time. but the ability to just turn it off and just have no plugins at all, and like no phones, no nothing, no internet, is really, really nice. And then also we're just like, because our trailer is so small, we don't really have any like much living space inside. So we're kind of like forcing ourselves to be outdoors and do things outdoors instead of sitting and holing up inside and being couch potatoes. So we have to go out, we have to do stuff. And then we also don't spend as much because we're not in town, and like we don't have that temptation of like driving by stores and saying, oh, I really need that, or I really want this, or I have to go to the store for something. Like we have to make do with what we have until we have the chance to go back into town.
I guess, yeah, you have to kind of plan ahead, you know, for groceries and that sort of thing. So that's actually a great question. Is like, how do you pack your groceries? Or, you know, like, do you have to really plan, like have a meal plan, go do your grocery shopping like once a week? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, we were going about once a week. And it's a little hard for us right now because our refrigerator that we have is like one of those college dorm room refrigerators, and the freezer's like shoebox sized. So we have to plan our grocery trips like you said, like 1 week at a time, because we literally can only fit like a week's worth of like vegetables and meat in our fridge and freezer. So it would be nice. We actually just bought an upright freezer that we'll be able to run on our power once we have our solar upgrade. So we'll be able to pack it full of meat and other frozen things. That way we don't have to go to the stores often. But we do rely a lot on like dried foods and canned foods to get us through, especially if like the weather's really bad. Last year when we first started going up there, and it was before we started camp posting, but we had gone up a couple of weeks prior, and we got stuck in a snowstorm, and we literally could not get down the mountain for 2 weeks. So we just had to eat what we had. But we had planned, like we knew the weather was going to be not so good and we might not be able to get out. So we planned for that. We had all kinds of food, and it's kind of fun to be creative with what you have.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it forces you to be creative, for sure. And I don't know, there's something to be said too. I find it like such culinary, making food is such an art. So,
yes.
Yeah, when you're like, you know, canned food and that sort of thing, you're like, okay, what can I do with all this stuff? Like I'm not that great. We kind of live, we live 30 minutes from town. We're not off grid, but we're definitely like not on the maps. And so we try to get groceries once a week, but my husband works in town. Right. So he can pick stuff up, you know, like it's pretty easy, but I really do try to have like everything stocked in the cupboards and really try to be more resourceful and figure out what I can use. So we're not always going to the store, but yeah.
Well, and that's a challenge too, is like having to use the canned and dried foods as opposed to having like fresh vegetables or fresh meat or fresh potatoes. Like we eat a lot of rice and like the dried hash brown things that you can get. Like we kind of live off of starches like that because they're easy and we can keep a lot of them at a time. Oh, and noodles, a lot of noodles.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like that's my cupboard. Is like, and that's what we eat a lot of too. It's like the rice, the noodles. Yeah. Awesome. I was actually going to ask, what are like some of your top 3 foods that you have?
Ooh, so I love cooking on the wood stove. Even though our wood stove is like super small, I can just barely get my Dutch oven on the top of it. Okay. And as long as I rotate it like every 15 minutes, it cooks really well. Oh. So I really like doing like Dutch oven lasagna. And I try to do a lot of one-pot meals just so we don't have to do a lot of dishes. So anything I can do in the Dutch oven, I do. So like lasagna, I can do cobblers, and like soups. We do a lot of soups. And like I said, rice and meat, like chicken and rice or beef and rice, things like that.
Oh, yeah. I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, right?
Ooh, I love food. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Those are, I think, even great tips for other people that are thinking about making that transition into living full-time in a camper. And so you've talked a little bit about camp hosting or being camp hosts, volunteering. Can you tell us a little bit more about, I guess, that and some of the benefits that come with being a camp host, just for those that are interested? And is this something that you apply for? Like how does that all work?
Yeah, so kind of like what I said earlier, is it varies from organization to organization. With our organization, it is volunteer. So like I said, we get all of the amenities that allow us to stay in the campground as a form of payment, quote unquote. And so they make sure that we're taken care of. They'll have like a forest ranger come out every day to check on us and make sure that we don't need anything. I mean, if we need like toilet paper, they'll bring us toilet paper kind of thing.
Oh, wow. That's
like
nice.
Little things like that. Yeah. And so a lot of it with us being in the OHV campground is we are there to educate people on ATV safety and campground etiquette. So the biggest problem that happens there is people just have no idea the rules on being in an ATV park, and they don't know what they're supposed to do. And so a lot of people, they'll go there and they don't know about all these trails, and they'll sit in the parking lot, and like a lot of people on quads and side-by-sides will sit there and do donuts and cookies and just be menaces. And so I have to go out there and say, hey, did you know there's this trail over here that you could go take that's way more fun than sitting here and disturbing the peace and throwing rocks at everybody. And sometimes it feels a little bit like adult daycare, but for the most part, you get a lot of people who are really kind and they just want to know more about it. So that's kind of our position, is we educate people on safety and how they should be, approaching coming out in the woods to participate in recreational activities like ATVs and all those other good things. And some camp host positions require you to do like upkeeping the grounds. We do to an extent. Like we'll go around and pick up trash, and we'll do like some very light janitorial duties in the bathrooms. But other than that, our specific one doesn't require us to deep clean any bathrooms or do anything crazy gross. And like, if it was like really, really disgusting, we would lock it and we'd tell somebody that it needs to be taken care of by somebody else with better materials to take care of it. But yeah, it's, volunteering is super, oh man, I lost my train of thought. Volunteering is like, it's really fulfilling for us. And even though we have some people that we have to go, I don't want to say reprimand, but just kind of educate a little bit more harshly than others. We get a lot of people who come out there and they are, first time dirt bikers or first time on an ATV. Like we had last year, this kid that was going out with like a bunch of teenagers, and they just left him. Like he was probably, 9 or 10 years old. And the teenagers left him in the dust because he stalled his bike and he couldn't get it started again. And we accidentally came across him, and he's sitting there like in the middle of the road crying. And we're like, where are your parents? He's like, oh, I was with my friends and they left me. So we took him back to his camp, and my husband told his dad, hey, I don't know where his buddies went, but I'll take him out on a ride. And that way he gets to ride, because the parents, they'll sit at their campgrounds and they'll drink, and they didn't want to go out. So my husband took this kid out on a trail ride, and the kid was so thrilled. He was so happy. And like the rest of the weekend, he was coming back to our trailer trying to hang out with my husband. And it was really cute. And so we had things like that where like we would show people like the trail system, and we'd take them. We had a route that we'd take people on to show them around the area, because it's a huge area. I mean, this area that we're in is like 300,000 acres of trails. So it's really easy to get lost. And that's like the last thing we want to have anybody do, is go out there, not know where they're at, and get lost, and then have to, have somebody recover them or whatever. So we would try to take people on routes that we knew that they could do, and really easy to get back to camp and everything. But yeah, we did a lot more than just volunteering in the campgrounds too. Is we had the opportunity to go work on trails and do trail work and do cleanups, and it's just giving back to that community is super fulfilling and totally worth it if you get the chance, even if it's not camp posting necessarily, but going out with like another organization that does trail work and helping get things cleaned up and ready, especially in the springtime and in the fall when like the trees are falling because of all the rainfall and everything.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I think there's something to be said when you are putting in the work with any organizations or any clubs, and just being involved, can go such a long way. Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. I love hearing that. And I love hearing about, like the story with the little, I want to say bored kid, and your husband. And another thing I was going to ask is, do you do like any sweeping, or is it just kind of like if there was somebody kind of lost, do you feel that that's your responsibility to go find them? Like how does that work? I've never heard of that, but it's just something I thought of.
So that's kind of a gray area. So because of the duties that we are assigned to, that's technically out of our wheelhouse. That's when we would call, we would radio in and say, hey, we've got somebody who says their friend is lost, or we haven't seen this guy come back to his camper in a day and a half kind of thing. And they would send out authorities to go look for him. Okay. But we would be there for like the ambulance or whoever else needed to be there to like guide them, like, hey, we last saw them on trail, whatever over here, this is where it is. And we'd show the authorities where to start looking, and we would help too, of course, but it's not our job to like go out and find them without at least alerting somebody to it first.
Okay. So yeah, I was another question I thought of too. We have here in Canada Trail Forks. I don't know if that's an app that crosses over into the States, but is there, I guess, an app or something where you can see your trails, like the trail systems in your area, or do you guys provide maps? So we do provide paper maps.
However, the organization's trying to get away from paper maps because it's expensive and everybody has a smartphone now. There are, I think, 3 main maps that people use, the phone apps. And actually, that's a really good one that you bring up, because I see a lot of people have issues with one specific app that I do not recommend. And that's called OnX Off-Road.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've probably heard of that one. I don't like that one because it shows a lot of trails that are marked as ATV trails, but they're actually hiking trails. And it's just not consistent, and it's not reliable as much as other apps are. I mean, it's okay to like get like an idea of like where you're at and like use it kind of like as a compass and an idea of like what trail you're on. But to only use that would be, in my opinion, kind of a mistake, because it does show the hiking trails that are not supposed to be dedicated for ATV use. And we've had some issues with that as well. What we use is a map called Avenza, and you can actually, a lot of riding areas will actually have like a geo-referenced PDF that you can download and upload into the Avenza map. So that way you're looking at the official area map that's geo-referenced. So like, exactly where you're at.
Okay.
So that's what we use, and that's what the organization that we work with uses as well for all of their own mapping. And you can track and do everything with that. And I'm not affiliated, like sponsored by any of these companies either. I just that one's like my favorite one. And gosh, there's another one that I just can't remember the name of. I'll think of it later when it's not important.
No, for sure. I think this is, a great topic, because we use, like I said, in Canada here, Trail Forks is a big one. It's pretty good, but there are a lot of places that haven't been marked yet that you're like, well, there's riding trails, but where are they? But if we're crossing over into the States, I don't think Trail Forks works over there. So it would be nice to at least be a little bit prepared and download anything that we would need. So I'll like list everything, like those types of apps or programs. Yeah, definitely look into Avenza. And like I said, a lot of places use Avenza. So that's a good way to like get the official area map on your phone. I know you said you're going to Arizona soon, right? I am. I'm
Yeah,
trying.
that's exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. Well, it's, my parents have like a summer home there, or
Oh,
I
right
guess
on.
winter home. Yeah. And they're from Saskatchewan, so yeah, they need the warmth, and so do I.
Yes.
But anyway, so I'm gonna go visit them. But I'm trying to figure out how to go dirt biking out there. Like, I won't have a vehicle, so I'd have to rent. Sounds like I'm gonna be by myself if I do go. So yeah, I don't want to really ride by myself. So I'm just trying to figure out. Yeah, just trying to figure out like pricing, if I get the guide, if it's gonna work. I really want to make it work.
Yeah, there's so much good. I've never ridden out in Arizona except like a couple times, but I'm from there originally, so but that was before I was dirt biking. So I know there's like tons and tons of like horse trails and hiking trails and dirt bike trails out there. So I'm super jealous because that's on my bucket list of things to do.
Right? Yeah, I just thought I went when my brothers came with me, we went and did like an ATV tour, and it was so much fun. I had the best time. So, yeah, I just think with the dirt biking, it would be such a great experience, and check out their area, like different, just everything's so different, you know. I'm sure it would be like more desert-like, and yeah. So, anyways, I'm hoping I make that work.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to shift gears here. I want to talk about dirt bikes and trials bikes. So, first off, how did you get into riding? And I guess, when did you start riding?
So I have never really like been super interested in like dirt bikes or anything. And then I got with my boyfriend, my now husband, and he had a dirt bike, and he kind of flip-flopped between having his dirt bike, and then he sold his dirt bike for a street bike, and then he got tired of the street bike and then got back into dirt bikes. And the second time he got back into dirt bikes, he was like, you're going to be my new riding buddy. And so one day he came home with a YZ 450 and a KX85, and he said, you're going to learn how to ride. So we went out, and I learned how to ride on a KX85, and I was so terrified, and it was so scary. And yeah, that was 7 years ago. That was right before we got married that we got into riding dirt bikes. And and then I didn't really, we rode a lot, but I never really took it seriously until like the last couple of years. And I went to a Meg's Brap clinic up in Texas, or down in Texas. And that kind of elevated my skills and like really got me wanting to get into dirt biking more. And then I got my, so I started my KX85, then I had a Honda CRF 250L. And that was a really interesting bike to ride because it's a dual sport and it's super heavy. So it was difficult for me to pick up when it fell, and it fell a lot. So when I got my Beta Cross trainer, which is what I have now, it was like opened this whole new world of opportunities and really helped me advance as a rider, because I was so used to this bike that I couldn't throw around at all because it weighed twice as much as I did. And now I have this bike that is perfect. I can touch the ground on it. It's got a lot of power. And so, yeah, getting a better bike to ride and then just getting more into the sport really helped me get into riding. And then around that time, we went to this park in Austin called Emma Long, and we saw all these guys on trials bikes. And I was like, I want to do that. That looks like fun. That looks way easier than a dirt bike. So I bought a trials bike, and I hated it. And I didn't ride it until I blew up my cross trainer. And then, yeah, and now I'm really into trials.
Okay, interesting. What did you not like about trials when you first got onto it?
So have you ever ridden a trials bike?
Well, I not like rarely. Like, I hopped on one. It was electric. It was cool, but it was like, it's different. Like, it's so different, I find.
Exactly. And when I thought I was going to be able to pick it up like right away, and that's just stupid, like me ego kind of thing. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be so good at this. And I got on it, and it immediately, like, trials bikes tend to point out every single flaw you have as a dirt bike rider, like right away. And it showed me that my posture was terrible. My balance was terrible. Everything was terrible. And I'm like, wow, I suck. And it just like wanting, like, the desire to get on it and do anything, because like I just felt so like uncomfortable on it, was just so small. And so I just never really did anything with it until I had to. And then I only rode the trials bike for, it was only like a couple months while my bike was getting fixed. And then now I kind of balance my time between the two.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to get a trials bike. And the reason for it is because I keep hearing like, oh, if you really work on trials, like they're a lot more playful. It really like shows your flaws, and you can work on that on the trials bike, and then you can transfer those skills, everything onto dirt bike. So I feel that that's kind of what I want it for, is to like really, I want to hone in on my skills on that, and then be able to apply it on dirt bikes. Like I see you on it. I see, oh my gosh, there's another girl that I just started following. I think she just changed her name on Instagram.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Is it Bama?
Yes. I was going to say Bama.
She's got the
or
gas and the beta, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like her skills going back and forth between the two. And I'm like, there, you could really tell, like with both of your skills, like how much that trials bike has helped you with the dirt bikes, like, so I think there would be a lot of benefit to it, but I think it would be a big learning curve as well. And maybe
it's a really big learning curve. And something that Rich Larson says about trials bikes is like, if you're gonna get a trials bike, you need to like dedicate riding trials, not just going on a trail on a trials bike, but like learning the ins and outs and the nuances of a trials bike. And so that's kind of what I did, is I took that from him and really started to learn how to ride it instead of just riding it on a trail. And when I went back to my dirt bike after riding trials, it really did help, because like I had all these tools in my toolbox that now I could apply to the dirt bike. And it is going to be different because it's a bigger bike, but you still have like the basics of what needs to happen to get this result. And I think that helped me a lot when I switched back over into riding dirt bikes. But I never intended to compete in trials. I just wanted it as a tool. But now I do compete now. So
Whoa,
it kind of sucked me in.
Yeah. Okay. And that was actually one of my questions. It might be further down, but oh no, have you done any races? Okay. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I've never done any races on my dirt bike. I'm really scared of racing. Like I'm a little bit risk adverse when it comes to things like that. And the first race I was going to do was down in Texas, and I'd texted my friend, was like, hey, what class do you race in? Because I'm going to go join this race, and I think I'm like around the same skill level. And she's like, oh, actually, I'm not racing next weekend. I broke my wrist off the starting line. Somebody crashed into me. And that like immediately just killed my desire to go race. I was like, well, if there's other people that can hurt me and it's not just me hurting myself, that's a little scary. So I got out of that, but I still want to race. But yeah, anyways, I do compete in trials. I did 3 trials last year in the very end of the year. So I'm like just barely getting into it. So I did compete in the novice level. I actually have a trial in 2 weeks, the first one of the year.
Oh, wow.
And my plan was to work all winter on trials and be able to do an intermediate and just start an intermediate. And I don't know if I'll do that. I want to, but I don't want to completely like fail, but so I might just do a couple more novice rounds before I like get into intermediate. And the nice thing about competing in trials, at least in like the local club, is it's really low key. It's not competitive. It's just like, we're all here to become better riders. We're here to like, the scores are just for yourself, really. It's not for like any amount of money or any like trophy. It's just like, how can I improve my riding between first round and third round? And from last year to this year, it's just you're in competition with yourself instead of with other people.
I vibe with that. I was going to say it's such a different vibe, it sounds like.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And everybody's like so helpful. And like, at least with our club, after all, like the rounds have been run and like everybody's done for the day, like they'll like let you go out and like work on the sections that you like maybe were kind of screwy at. And so you can go back and work on it. And all the like better riders are all super helpful. And they're like, hey, can I give you some advice? And they'll offer like, hey, I think what you're doing over here, this is what you're doing wrong, and this is how you can improve. And it's just a different group of people as composed to like, as compared to like motocross or enduro racing, where it's really competitive and everybody is, and I'm not going to say like mean or like, it's just a different vibe. It's just not, you're not in competition with other people. It's about you.
Yeah. I was going to say, I find I've never raced. I don't really have the desire to race, but I was going to say like, it's super competitive, especially here where I am. And, I find that a lot of people are hungry. They're hungry for that. Like, and I think that's such a great drive. Like you're so motivated, but, and that's their focus. I'm the type of rider where it's like what you said, I'm only there, like I'm competing against myself. How can I get better? Like, how can I, that seems more of like my vibe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm the same way. Like I've never had a huge desire to race. I did for like a short amount of time. And I think this year, I talked about it in one of my podcasts that just to push myself, I think I'm going to enter a couple enduros and just to get it out of the way and push myself to go faster, because sometimes I have the tendency to go like way slower than is, like, so I was like in some sections going faster helps you. I'm like the kind of person that's going to look at that and go slow, and I'm going to dump my bike because I'm going too slow over it. So I feel like if I went on a race and like maybe it got a little bit of that competitive edge and like was forcing myself to go faster, it might help me. So I might do a race or two this year. We'll see. I haven't committed to it.
I mean, there's definitely benefits to racing for sure. I think like, yeah, it's going to make you want to go faster because you're kind of chasing after people too.
Exactly.
Right? So, yeah, I think that would be a great way of pushing through and getting some, I don't know if it's confidence, but just getting faster in some of those trickier situations. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Really cool. Well, I want to know, what do you ride now? What's your dirt bike? What's your trials bike?
So I have a 2021 Beta Cross Trainer as my dirt bike, and I have a 2022 Beta Evo 200 for my trials bike.
Okay, awesome. And for the Cross Trainer, is that the 300?
Yeah, that's a 300.
300. Okay, cool. And you like those bikes?
I like them a lot. The only thing with the Cross Trainer is I'm getting to the point now where I am moving fast enough on the trail to where the softer suspension is kind of hindering me a little bit. Okay. It's kind of nice to have the softer suspension and some of like the trickier things and like doing rock gardens and some of the harder enduro type settings. But like in the fast and flowy stuff, it's a little divey in the front end. So I've been debating getting a different bike. I'm going to go do a beta demo in the next couple weeks and see if there's anything else that I would prefer to have. The only other bike that I think that I would want is, I was debating doing like a dual sport again and getting like a Beta 350 RRS or a 390 RRS and getting like back into 4-strokes. Just because then I could do like longer rides, because right now I'm like limited to 50-mile loops, period. Right. I'm out of gas.
Right.
But I love my Cross Trainer. So it's one of those things where it's like, I could just keep this and deal with it.
Right.
So,
yeah, I know what you mean. I feel like if I could have all the bikes that can do all the different things, I would.
Exactly. And it's like, but I can't, like, I don't have the space to have all of these bikes. So it's like, I have to have like a dirt bike and a trials bike. And that's pretty much what I'm limited to.
So, but the beauty about maybe even the trials bike, it can kind of act as like maybe your Cross Trainer that you have right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe, getting like maybe even a 4-stroke for kind of like an all-around bike.
Yeah, that was kind of, that was my thought, is the trials bike is still like, you have the snap of having a 2-stroke and I still can go out and do all like the harder stuff. And so I don't know. I'll have to ride a bike and see if I like it any better. And if not, I'll keep it.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I love that. Really quick, I know we're at an hour already. So, have you? I know. Do you have time?
Yeah, I've got time as long as you've got time.
Oh yeah, I'm good. So my next question would be: is modifications? Have you done anything different on your bikes to make it custom to you?
Yes. So the Cross Trainer, as you probably know, is a smaller framed bike, and it's got softer suspension. I have done all the power mods to my bike, so it's not toned down like that would be out of the box. So I have done the FMF fatty pipe, and I've got the FMF spark arrestor because we have to here have the Forest Service approved spark arrestors. And then I've also rejetted the carburetor and changed needle position and everything. So it's actually faster than my husband's 300RR. We've drag raced a couple times, and so it's pretty quick. And sometimes it's a little bit too much, so I need to think about toning it down a little bit. But other than that, I've had the sag set by a suspension shop, but I haven't done anything with the suspension. I recently had an issue where the collar on the rear shock is busted, so I bought a new collar for the shock collar, so I have to replace that. That's one of the things. That's one reason I'm not riding it right now, is because it needs some work.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, I haven't really done anything, just power stuff. Suspension wise, it's been okay, but like I said, it's a little bit too soft in some of the faster stuff, but I think I can improve that by probably changing the oil in the forks or something like that and make it a little bit better.
Yeah. I did hear, I don't have much experience on the betas, but I have heard really great things, and that they are a smaller frame, super nimble, and the suspension's pretty good, especially if you are doing enduro, like trail riding. I haven't heard much for like track stuff, but all the girls out here in the Sea to Sky, BC, they love their betas.
Yeah, I don't think, especially the way that Beta took care of me. So my main bearings went out at 80 hours on my Cross Trainer, and it was 2 years old at that point. And Beta ended up covering the cost of a brand new engine and the labor with a shop. So I basically got a brand new bike at 80 hours.
Wow.
And and it's been great. It's got almost 180 hours on it now. I've put 100 hours on it in the last 7 months.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
So it's been really good to me. And I know a lot of people complain about the oil injection, and I'm going to knock on wood really quick before I say that. I've had no issues with my oil injection.
Yeah. Right.
And in fact, every dealer that I talk to is like, we see it happen, but they're like, on my personal bike, I don't take it off. And I don't feel the need to, remove the oil injection and do premix yet. I might change my mind if it decides to, stop working. But I also check those things. Like I check the points of failure, like the ECU plug is a big issue on some of the betas. And I also just make sure that there's oil in the lines whenever I start the bike, and make sure that I can see like bubbles moving and that oil's moving through it. So
right. Yeah. So
just little things.
Do an overall look. Yeah. No, that's awesome. Okay, so a little bit about self-care off the bike. We're going to talk about off the bike right now. I'm curious about what you do for self-care after a big day of riding.
If it's a really big day, the next day I couch potato.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
I'll usually get home from a really good ride, and I'll crack open a beer and I'll just relax. And then the next day I'll probably not wash the bikes the first day, and the second day I'll wash the bikes. And that's pretty much the extent of what I do after our ride.
Awesome. I love it. And do you have any hobbies outside of your sports?
I do. I'm an artist, so I draw a little bit here and there. Not anything crazy, but that, and I like to hike. I love to hike with my dog and do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And future Zoey, what do you have planned for the spring and summer this season?
Ooh, well, we are going to be camp posting again. So we'll be completely out there off grid, being camp post until fall. So I'm really excited for that because I'll be in an OHV area and I can ride all the time again because right now I'm a little limited. And then I plan on doing every local trial that I can do. That's within reason. I can't take off every single weekend for a trial, but for the most part, I'm going to try to do all the ones in the series that are local. Yeah, I think that's pretty much my goals, just to ride a lot more.
Yeah, for sure. And then do you have any like goal specific or I guess any goals for like riding techniques or anything like that?
Yes, I really want to master doing like a double blip. I'm really, really bad at them. So that's something I need to work on. And there's this like specific area for like hard enduro, and there's like a bunch of like rainbow tires and stuff. And I have a couple videos of me doing them and like totally just eating crap. And I really want to get back at that and be able to do it without failing like 9 times out of 10. So I'm going to go tackle those tires, and there's a couple trails that I need to come back at and conquer as well. Oh, there's also there's this famous hill climb in our area that I tried to do, and I only made it halfway up. It was really wet and really slick that day. So one of my goals is to get to the top of that hill climb and conquer that as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's so exciting. Well, I'm excited for you to complete those goals.
Yes.
And actually something that, I've seen you, I think it was on your trials bike, you posted it on TikTok, and you were practicing some rainbow tires. And that was a question I forgot to even write down, but do you like doing that sort of type of drills? Is like enduro park riding, just getting some skills down?
I do. I really like doing it as long as I have somebody with me who can like either spot me or help me out if something bad were to happen. So that's something that I don't get to do terribly often. Like if my husband's not around or I don't have somebody who can like make sure that I'm not going to kill myself, then then I won't do it, because that's just, there's too much risk involved if you're by yourself and there's no one around.
For sure.
But that's definitely drills that I want to work on more. It's just getting the motivation to do it instead of like sitting there and being so scared is what's hard, I think.
Yeah, pushing fear to the side. Yes, for sure. Okay, well, I want to chat about your YouTube channel and your podcast. So, I've been following you, looking through your YouTube channel. You have a lot of RV living, dirt bike adventures, trail bike videos, and a lot of, your daily vlogs. So I absolutely love that. And I think that everyone should get onto YouTube because, again, I love to know more. And I think the tips and tricks are so helpful, but it's the personality, it's the behind the scenes that I think make a person so unique. So I do appreciate all the hard work that goes into the videos, but I'm curious, I guess, like with you living off grid, how, like you have the camera equipment, but do you find like Wi-Fi can interrupt that sometimes, like when you're doing your uploads? Like how does that work?
Definitely. And that's a big reason for like some of my inconsistent uploads when we're off grid. I mean, even right now, I'm not super consistent. But like I said, we're on Starlink, and Starlink is super fast in some ways, but the upload speeds are terrible. Right. And for like a 10-minute YouTube video, it takes like 4 or 5 hours sometimes, depending on like our connection to the satellite above. So it's really annoying to have to because I edit everything on my iPad, and so I have to like have the screen on all the time, because if the screen goes black, it like turns the app off, and it's just a pain. Then I can't use my iPad for 5 hours, so I try to do it at nighttime. So I'll upload something as private and just leave my iPad on all night. Hopefully everything goes right, and then the next day I'll finish editing and then I'll post it at an appropriate time. But yeah, that's the biggest challenge is uploading.
I was curious about that. And I was going to ask if you go to coffee shops, but it's like the exporting the video takes forever. And then it's the uploading onto YouTube that takes forever. So I was curious about that. What is your favorite process about creating videos?
I think that I really enjoy filming. Every once in a while, like editing is more of my favorite thing to do, but sometimes like when it's just like day in the life kind of or vlog styles, I find editing back to be a little bit monotonous. So it's like I'll like have to like do like little bits at a time before I get bored, and then I'm like, okay, I got to take a break. I'm frustrated, and then come back and then edit some more. But I really enjoy filming and like doing more artistic things, which doesn't always. It's kind of hard to do artistic things with like dirt biking. So it really depends on like what I'm filming, but filming is more of my favorite thing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you're really good at it, and I love everything's so engaging. Like your TikToks, Instagram, like your short form video too. You know, like you have the text on there. It seems like you're really good at like, I call them storyboards. Like you kind of know what you're going to be filming, and I don't know. You're really good at talking to camera, and having like great visuals. So.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, of course. And how can we, what's your YouTube channel handle?
So this is where it's a little bit confusing. So my YouTube is at The Anderson Adventures, and my Instagram is at Anderson.adventures. Finding handles that align are a little bit difficult when we're like really set on like the one title. So
right. Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, I'll leave the links in the description, and then also I'll pop up the handles on the screen. And then I want to get into a little bit about your podcast. So what is your podcast called? What is it all about? And where can we find it?
So my podcast is called Solitude and Single Track, and it is just about our lives as being off-grid RV nomads and traveling with our dirt bikes. And lately I've been talking a lot about my own challenges as a rider, whether that's, being somebody who's risk adverse and trying to not be so risk adverse, or, even taking advice from other people, because I've gotten in pretty heated arguments with my husband over him trying to help me and me just being like, no, don't talk to me. This is so difficult. And so, I just talk about a lot of different things. And I started it just a few months ago before we were, we're not off grid right now. So it's a little hard for me to find content, but you can find me on basically everything. The only thing I think that my podcast isn't on right now is Apple Podcasts. I don't know what is going on with that. Apple just will not accept it for some reason, but basically anywhere where you listen to podcasts except for Apple.
Okay. Oh, I wonder if it's something to do with the RSS feed.
I wonder, because it'll tell me, because I use Podbean for hosting, and it'll show me that I have the link for the Apple Podcast, and you go to click on it, and then it's like, oh, there's nothing here, and it's like, and so I keep doing it over and over, and it hasn't worked. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure something out. I just haven't had the motivation to to work on it.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, if it's not working, I'm like, on to the next.
Exactly, and
yeah. But I wonder if you contacted support through and just see, maybe it's on there. Have you looked?
Yeah. I have. I've looked it up on Apple Podcasts and it won't pull up. So I don't know. I should contact support. That's a good idea. And see, hey, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like a lot of people use Spotify or YouTube, for a lot of their podcasts. So
right.
Yeah. Apple, I don't think is as popular, but it'd just be nice to have it on all the platforms.
Exactly. So I can say, hey, it's on everything instead of it's on everything except.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And then we're going to get into, if you were to whisper in the ear of young Zoey, what would you tell her?
Ooh, I saw this one and I had a good one and I lost it already. I think it would just be to not give up so easily. It's so easy to think that you're going to be good at something, like not quite right away, but like with little effort. And then when you're not, it can be really discouraging. And I'm one of those people that gets like frustrated really easy. So, I think that if I could tell myself, a younger version of myself, to just keep trying, it'll work out. If you just keep trying, then I think that would have solved a lot of issues.
Right. Oh, I love it. I love it. And any advice for women that are getting into dirt biking or trail riding?
Just do it. Just get out there and try it. Like, don't let people tell you that you shouldn't be doing it or that it's too dangerous or anything like that. It's so fulfilling and it's so worth it, especially like when you do have like a goal in mind and you conquer that goal. And I know as like women, it can be really intimidating because it's kind of like a more masculine sport. And it could be hard to get into, like, especially like as a single woman, like if you don't have like that male partner or other partner that's into it. I've talked to a lot of women who have gotten into it all on their own, and that's fantastic. I wish I had done that, but yeah, I would just say, just if you want to do it, go get yourself, do some research, maybe talk to some friends, find some friends that ride and do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Love it. Absolutely. I agree with you. Quote you live by.
So I have one quote that I live by, and it's not appropriate, but I won't
you can
say the
it
word, but
okay.
It's we live our life by, is it an F yes or an F no? And if it's not an F yes, then it's an F no. And that's kind of how we like got into RV life and everything, is like, is what we're doing, like, and you can apply that to everything. Like, is this shirt an F yes or an F no? Like, if I don't really like it, it's an F no, and I'll just throw it away or I'll donate it or something. It's just, everything that we do is, if it's not immediately like, yes, we want to do it, then it's a no.
Oh, that's a good one. I feel like, yeah, that could be applied to like anything. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's awesome. And what's on your bucket list?
Oh gosh. I really do want to travel and ride in more places. I really love the Pacific Northwest to ride in, and I'm sure that it's pretty similar to where you live too. But I would love to get up to Canada and do some riding, and I want to get down like in the Southwest and do more riding. Something that I've been wanting to do is go to Moab, Utah and ride there. And then, yeah, I just really want to explore more of the country and even just the continent in general and ride.
Yes, I know. Oh, it's the same for me. Do you follow Darcy on TikTok? Darcy
yes.
Lambert? I feel like we need to come together, maybe even go to Moab or something.
Right?
And just like do like a whole bunch of riding. Yeah.
That would be so good. I love her videos so much. She's so bubbly and like so like happy all the time, and it makes me smile watching her smile. It's so sweet. And I listened to her podcast with you, and I was like, I love her so much.
She's a lot of fun. Yes. I feel like her laugh and her smile is super contagious. Mm-hmm. She just, same thing. She just makes me smile and laugh, and I love that about her. So, but yeah, we need to get together somehow and
yes,
make that happen. That would be dope. Okay, so where can we find you on all the socials?
So, like I said, my YouTube is at The Anderson Adventures. TikTok is, let me check. I'm so bad. I haven't logged into TikTok in so long.
That's all good.
But I completely forgot. I think it's Anderson.adventures. I think it's just like my Instagram. Yeah, it's identical to my Instagram. So it's at Anderson.adventures, and then Instagram is at Anderson.adventures. And I also have my my podcast Instagram, which is different. It's Solitude and Single Track, all spelled out.
Okay, awesome. I'll link that up as well. And actually, I had one more question that I forgot to ask you about your podcast. Is your husband going to be joining you on some of your podcasts?
Yes, I need to get him to do it. It's just, our schedules they kind of clash right now. He is working a little bit, so it's like he's gone during the week, and that's when I like do all my stuff. And then, like I said, we're staying with my mother-in-law right now, but we're also helping her finish her remodel on our house. So like our weekends, we don't ride, we don't do a whole lot. We just work on our house. We're almost done. So I think the next podcast, I'm going to tell him, okay, you're going to sit down with me and we're going to do a podcast together.
Yeah.
He really wants to. It's not like he doesn't have any aversion. It's just it hasn't worked out.
Right. Yeah. Schedules. I feel you. Well, that's really exciting. I love that you can do that with each other, you know?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, that comes to the end of all my questions, but I do have one last rapid fire question, so you pick one or the other.
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay, so dirt bikes or trial bikes?
Oh. Right now, I'm going to have to say trials bikes.
Okay, cool.
But like that changes.
Yeah, for sure. Log hops or rainbow tires?
Log hops.
Wheelies or clutch ups?
Wheelies.
Weekend warrior or weekday slayer?
Weekday slayer.
Okay. Balancing on dirt bikes or balancing on trail bikes?
Oh, I'm better on the trials bikes. I'm going to say trials bikes.
Okay, cool. Well, that's it. That I am now all done. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I absolutely loved our conversation. I got to learn a little bit more about you, and I think so many women out there can learn from you. And I just think you're doing such an amazing job putting yourself out there, doing all of these, you know, you're doing your training, you're balancing and showing us trials and dirt bikes. You're impacting so many of us, and I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay.
But yeah, thank you so much again, and have a great day.
Yeah, thanks. You too.
Okay, we'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.